to round out the show, I would like to do a Academy 101 where we analyze meta list for FO. For this segment, we're going to be analyzing First Order to talk about the meta list. Our goal here is to understand the components that make up the list, how to fly it, why you want to fly these lists, even if they're not the best Han lists you can fly, they still are pretty fun and pretty amazing to run. So these are going to be some of the top First Order lists that are making it. We're going to analyze strengths, weaknesses, how to fly them, what obstacles you should take, and if there's a analysis for objective play. The first list is, and some of this stuff we pulled from the pattern analyzer. Is that what it is called? That's what it's called, right? I'm not crazy. We pulled some of these as the top lists that are some of the win rates as well as the top taken lists. When we get into FO, there's a little bit less here than we had before. But it is still definitely some lists that you should be watching out for if you are going to be playing in a tournament, either Store Champ or World Qualifier. With that being said, who wants to take the first list, the first list, and talk about how it works, what ships are in it, and the components that make up this list?
So I'll do this one here. So the first one here, we got Kylo Ren in the TIE Whisper with Brilliant Evasion, Instinctive Aim, Concussion Missiles, Advanced Optics, and the Jamming Suite. Commander Malorus with Mag Pulse. We got DT 798 with Deuterium Power Cells. Lieutenant LeHughes with Marksmanship, Barrage Rockets, and Special Forces Gunner. And then Quick Draw with Project Edition, Lone Wolf Pattern Analyzer, Special Forces Gunner, and Fire Control System. This is just an overall really, really solid list. You got that I6 hammer in quick draw that's able to go it alone with that threat of that double tap if he loses if she loses the shields. Being able to do a hard one, which will trigger the pattern analyzer proud tradition focus lock for quick draw is really nice. Or if you're going to try to get behind an opponent and do the sloop, you can do the same thing there. It is a really solid piece for quick draw to double mod there. Going over to Lieutenant Hughes, a really underrated Thai SF that it has been seeing a little more popularity. There's been different variations on the loadout for Hughes, but I think probably the most efficient one is the barrage rockets, mainly because that does give Hughes the ability to shoot those barrage rockets out the rear with the chassis ability. All Hughes needs is just a focus, and if Quickdraw still has a lock on the ship that Hughes is firing on, Hughes can end up spending that target lock to double mod his own shots against the that enemy and do some work there. DT did a very cheap 3 die attacker at I4 that can shoot 3 dice there. Commander Malorus, very well known, being able to essentially double mod a Mag Pulse Warhead to deplete, jam, and give a critical to a ship that it attacks, and being a very very good objective grabber with its ability. And then Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren has had a lot of iterations in terms of loadout. This one probably is the more consistent one. You can, I don't suggest it, but you can use instinctive aim to essentially dumbfire a concussion missile at range 3 against an opponent. And then if you have a focus token, you can use advanced optics to mitigate a single blank result into hit result, and have still another force left over to modify your other focus results if you have it there. Gives Kylo Ren a very consistent 3 die attack that can definitely hit. And if Kylo's the last one on that I5 to hit a ship that you're concentrating on, having that concussion missile available to flip one of those face down damages face up could be really, really good, especially if it's like a fuel leak and you have another like crit on the way going in there, or if you manage to get a direct hit, or like any number of different combos there. Kylo Ren can really do a lot of work in ensuring that it could be a kill shot against one of these ships there. Has a lot of utility, can cover a lot of ground on the board there, and is a very consistent offensive machine.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a little bit of variations to the list, right? Like sometimes we'll see Midnight over DT, just have another I6 out there. FO being king of the high initiatives. I definitely do agree with the barrage rockets on the Hughes. Um, but like quick draw, there's lone wolf quick draw though. That's my only problem. Occasionally you'll see quick draw with like Deuterium,
Yeah,
just to get that shield back and get more charges from quick draw. But it's a solid list. It can hit. Like Malorus is such an incredible piece. LeHughes being just 4 points for just a 3-die attack that works pretty well, especially if you have like Malorus and they're not spending the lock or something, or if Midnight is in there, Midnight's lock. When you shoot with Midnight, they can't modify their dice, and then you can use that for LeHughes' shot.
yeah, and this list feels very independent. Like they don't have to fly close to each other in order for it to be effective. I mean, specifically like Quick Draw and Kylo Ren, the rest of the list can come in at different angles and still be effective on offense. And I think that's both their strength and their weakness as well, because they have that flexibility of being away from each other. If they're not flown correctly and you leave one out to dry by itself, these ships can be burned down by concentrated effort, and receive very little retaliation back. What does help this list a lot is that you have a lot of high initiatives. You got Quick Draws I6, then you have LeHughes, Malorus, and Kylo at I5 that can put out damage at that initiative, and that they can easily burn down a lower initiative ship and take it off the board before it gets a chance to shoot.
And that's generally what FO does, right? In terms of like objectives, like they're chunky enough that like they're kind of annoyingly good at chance. They got the 3 agility minus the SFs, but they have 6 health, so it's like you have to put 3 shields worth of damage into them. They're only giving up 2 points. Uh, the 2 FOs are only giving up 1 point at half, and then Kylo, when he starts getting shot at, he just takes the evade, and you have triple force and jam. So you can't like evade link jam, but you can still jam people, and that's kind of nasty.
Oh yeah.
So like for chance, they're pretty solid. I mean, assault, they're fast enough to do things, but they're not like crushing it at assault.
There's no boosts, so you have to plan your maneuver out.
Right. It's just the only Kylo gets the boost, and you're not leaving Kylo. You're not doing objectives with Kylo to go out there. You're trying to get him in there to do damage. So they're not bad at assault, but they're not like, again, they're not great at it. Scramble, they're actually pretty solid, I would say. Malorus can still have her ability. Kylo has the Force. LeHughes can use someone else's target locks. Like they're sort of self-sufficient, but also they're high initiative, and that's the biggest part about that. One or two I6s, and the rest are I5s. Right. So they're pretty annoying at scramble. Don't If you just miss that block just by a little bit, you're just like, right, cool. I don't have any actions, and neither do they, but they have the point anyways.
Yeah.
And for like scramble, or not scramble, salvage, they don't really depend on the barrel rolls a lot. So they can generally do, I mean, you don't want to pick up a crate with Kylo. And depending on how you can load them out, you could, add some more upgrades that focus on crits. Like you could add malice on Kylo if you don't want like instinctive and brilliant. So you can like, oh, I'm not good at salvage just in general. I'm gonna throw on there, or put like marksmanship even more somewhere, somewhere that so it can knock crates off. because high initiative isn't the best for salvage, but they can, Malorus with a Magpulse can knock off a crate pretty easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kylo with a bullseye.
Yep.
Lots
And
of
now,
things.
now for this list, I mean, to me, this feels like a jack of all trades, right? Like it could do pretty decent at all the objectives, but it doesn't really excel at any one objective, right? Is that how you guys feel about this list?
Yeah, I
I
would say
think
it's a
a little bit
mid-tier.
above average for scramble, but
That,
that's about
yeah.
it.
Now let's talk about counters to this list. What would you guys focus on when you're facing off against this list? What do you think would be the key to bringing this list down?
I mean, if you have like a large base, high initiative that kind of boosts and double tap, that seems really good against this kind of thing. But no, like anything with spike damage should be enough because, like, the key to kill a quick draw is you just eat the shot and you just down the shields in one round, right? Like you
Yeah.
either get multiple guns on quick draw and shoot that turn, or you just don't shoot quick draw and shoot someone else. Like you don't want to plink off one damage at a time. And especially if this quick draw doesn't have like deuterium, then like you can do that a lot better. So anything with like spike damage, like proton torpedoes, uh, again, I Han, just the any large base reposition is kind of disgusting. So like a Poe or like a Lando even.
Yeah, and I would say bullseyes are also the enemy of this list. This list doesn't have a lot of repositioning options outside of Kylo. Like Kylo does, right? So Kylo's whatever. Like just Kylo's off the board. But the other ships don't have repositioning options the same way lots of other ships do. They can barrel roll, but then they don't have mods. So pick your poison. So if you want to line up bullseyes on these lists and you're same initiative or higher, you have a higher probability of doing that. Or if you could block them. Blocking is the other thing.
Yeah.
Because they have good dials, but not amazing dials.
Yeah. And I definitely think that jam is actually the way to go for this one here because um, they do rely on their tokens to an extent, right? Because beyond that, they don't really have a lot of passive mods for defense. And while yes, these are 3 agility ships, 3 agility can blank out just as easy as 1 or 2 agility. Probably less likely, but they can absolutely falter. And since a lot of these ships are not very high on shields, Kylo only has 2 shields. Malorus and DT only have a single shield. Once you start getting those crits through and through that hole, it's going to be a lot easier for those ships to go down, and they suffer really. They're susceptible to those crits that can really hurt their efficiency, and go down.
All right. Let's go on to the next list. We have Von Reg and Kylo. Well, we got Kylo again, looks like. Not in a silencer this time either. Still in the whisper. JJ, what is this list?
So we got Major Von Rank is showing up here now in the Type A Interceptor with Marksmanship, Lone Wolf, Deterring Power Cells, and Mag Pulse Warheads. Kylo Ren again with Brilliant Invasion, Malice, Predator, Pattern Analyzer, and the Jamming Suite. Valorous with Mag Pulse, and DT with Deterring Power Cells, and then Lieutenant Hughes again with Marksmanship, Barrage Rockets, and Special Forces Gunner. A different variation from the previous list. The biggest difference is in Kylo Ren's loadout, kind of opting away from the instinctive aim concussion missile. This one is a little more in your face. This is, I would think, probably the more deadlier Kylo, because if he is going to be like a night fighter, he's always going to get that jam off, and he's going to most likely push those crits through with Malice. Major Ronreg is the other piece to this one here, being that I6 ace for the First Order being able to almost I always have mods using the ability, the chassis ability to target lock for a deplete or strain, and then take a focus or an evade or wherever you need to. Or you can set yourself up with like a deplete lock and then choose a scramble to grab an objective at I6. There's a lot of utility that Von Reg brings to this particular list that Quick Draw just does not have, and the dial allows it to become a lot more of a knife fighter to keep pursuit. And then if you do line up that bullseye on Von Reg, you can set up a strain or a deplete on a ship that may not want to do a blue maneuver the following turn, and you can really set yourself up to neuter that ship's offense or defense for that following turn.
So very similar-ish list. I think DT could be subbed out for Scorch or other few things depending on your playstyle. Though I kind of feel DT might be better than Scorch right now. Um, I don't know. Like I think the difference is DT in a high initiative meta. DT the strain doesn't matter as much, and you don't
Just don't
have
play
to
against
do the blue
Republic.
maneuver. What's that?
Just don't play against Republic with their
Yeah.
arcs and everything. That's the only like kind of iffy thing. There's a lot of stuff at 4 as well right now.
Yeah. So with this list, what's the counters to this list? I guess let's start there. Is there counters to this list? You know, you have Von Reg you have your I6 now. And Von Reg is a better I6 than Quick Draw in terms of maneuverability. Damage output, it's kind of a playstyle thing, I think. But really, Quick Draw can just burn down in 2 turns if you focus fire on him. Her. Quick Draw just doesn't want to live. Von Reg is cagey. I'm not super sold on Lone Wolf Von Reg. I know that's like the more popular Von Reg, but that's not my favorite Von Reg. I like Daredevil a little bit better than the Magpulse and some of the other stuff in here, but that's just me. So what are you guys' thoughts?
I think it still has the same weaknesses as the last list. You're essentially just swapping Von Reg for Quick Draw. Von Reg is just a little. I don't know. How many times like Von Reg just because one shot. Like Von Reg's solid. I don't think I6 Magpul is super good. I don't think Von Reg. You have to be really good at the game for Von Reg to just do a lot of work. Like Quick Draw is kind of the easy way out where you're just like, yeah, I'm going to throw a bunch of dice and they shoot me and I'm going to throw more dice. Von Reg, you actually have to be patient with and get behind people so you can take that strain with that lock focus and not get shot at. So you have to be really, really cagey. But, again, if they're going against something like On, if you get the wrong road roll at the wrong time, that's really, really bad for Von Reg.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So is the objectives and everything kind of similar then to the last list? I mean, to me, it feels like you have a little bit different feel with Von Reg, but you have 2 aces is essentially what you have here. And like Von Reg doesn't want to go take objectives either. So, I don't know. What did you guys' thoughts?
I think that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this list does better in scramble and significantly worse in salvage, mainly because you don't want to take away the reposition ability from Kylo or Von Reg. Sure, you still have Malrus, or you still have DT, but it feels like you're focusing a lot more on the offensive piece of what they could bring. Specifically, Von Reg, if you're able to get that Mag Pulse off at I6, that significantly helps out Kylo and Malorus to and DT to or like really inflict damage on that ship that Von Reg is going to punish. And in order for you to do that, you do need that reposition, you need that boost or that barrel to get into position, or you need that either deplete or strain to get that target lock for Von Reg to double mod that. and that could leave Von Reg in a vulnerable position, especially if he's in more than one arc. And if you are, you might lose Von Reg in one shot, maybe two, especially if he ends up spending that token. And it feels very there's a lot of consequence for that, right? You have a greater risk of you losing that important piece in your list. So if I feel like unless you're really aggressive in trying to get that piece for Von Rig off, you're definitely playing a lot more cagey and you're not supporting as much offensively with Von Rig like you would with Quick Draw. So in a straight out joust, I think this list loses, especially to like the Republic with the arcs. This list doesn't want to joust straight up with any list. It wants to try to run around and do what it needs to do, and that leaves a lot of the other pieces left out to dry, and they could die to concentrated fire. So
All right. Obstacles. I guess it doesn't really matter to me. You just bring big obstacles, but
yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's much difference here in obstacle placement or anything. Um, again,
Yeah, I mean,
these lists are so FO has what I would call the similar thing that Resistance has. They have a lot of good 4 and 5 point ships, but I think where FO fails a little bit compared to Resistance is they don't have a large base heavy hitter ship. Except for Kylo in the Silencer, and then you can't take him in the Whisper. So like you're kind of at a loss on both sides. I think, and we originally thought Kylo in the Whisper at 5 points, like holy crap, no way. But I think the value versus how easily he can die if you're not careful is there. Like he is, it's not a Silencer Kylo that can live a lot longer. I don't know. So I think that's where FO sits currently is there's a lot of good 4 and 5 point ships, but they don't have anything that excels to such an extent that we're like, oh my God, here you go. And that takes us into our last list, which I would call the 4-ship mayhem, which essentially you pick 4 5 point ships and put them on the table. I left quick draw off because in my opinion, in a 4-ship list, you don't run quick draw. Just personal opinion. I don't know why you would do that. It is a double tapping ship, but it's a double tapping ship that says, don't look at me. Please only shoot me with 1 ship. Don't shoot me with 3 because I'll die. Don't bullseye me with the dirge. I'll die. Yeah, I don't know. So really this is kind of your flavor, right? So this is the Daredevil version. In my opinion, I like this Von Reg better. But that's just me. I don't know if I would say you can. The one thing we didn't put in here is the variant that Cody was running, because again, I think we had that conversation 3 weeks ago. Cody is very good at Cody lists. I don't know how well they are going to do in the meta. So that 7 point.
Cody's basically the only person that plays that list anyway, so you're not going to see it anywhere.
A 7 point, Kylo can exist. I don't know. Like it's a little bit. That's just not the popular thing we're seeing being run, right? The popular thing is we're seeing Von Reg, Kylo in the Whisper, and then 2 other 5 point ships. So here, this is the Kylo that's the Malice Kylo, which is my preferred build for Kylo, though that 2 point Brilliant Evasion could be Proud Tradition, Fanatical, it could be a lot of different things. And this is without the missiles. And then we have the other 4 ships. It's the Blackout with Prockets, which you can run Plasmas, you can run Trick Shot, but the Prockets, I feel, are a little bit easier of a time to get off, at least that one time you want to get it off. And then you have the Rush. Technically, you could put Prockets on Rush too, but like, I wouldn't advise it unless you're going to hold your Prockets till you lose your shields, because like an I2 with Prockets is not, you're not, I don't know. I guess
Predator, man, just do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever, man. I don't know. You got to do some blocking, which you don't have. So you could put Rush in there with the Fanatical, Predator, Advanced Optics, which is the highest build that we see. And then we have Wrath. You could just choose Wrath as well in the Whisper with Predator, Marksmanship, Pattern Analyzer, and Ion Cannon. And Wrath is the double tapping ship if you meet all the conditions. We could probably make an argument that Wrath's only worth 4 points. But Wrath is a good 5-point ship if you want to run a little bit more AC style of a list. And then you have Hollow, right? And Hollow's been a thing. I didn't know Hollow showed up, but a lot of people like to run Hollow, it seems, with Deuterium, Magpult, and Fanatical. What are you guys' thoughts on a 4-ship FO list? Is it viable? It seems to be showing up, so it is one of the higher rated lists in the
I would
faction.
say if you're going to bring Wrath, you should be bringing Kylo first. So only bring Wrath if you're also bringing Kylo Whisper.
Fair enough.
I just think Kylo's just above and beyond what Wrath can do, and then having a double jam Whisper really helps a 4-ship list because you can just jam everything.
Yeah,
Jam,
I agree.
Jam.
And honestly, I think for the amount of work that Cody's put into his list, and him doing very well consistently with that list, this list can absolutely do a lot of work. I mean, it is 6 health for a lot of these ships, 5 for the Whispers, but you're able to arc dodge a lot, and honestly, you're going to evade 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? So if you're able to arc dodge, you're not taking those shots, so that low health is not going to matter anyway. And if you're able to eliminate your opponents, especially Kylo Ren, who has that force that's able to just focus on jamming and boosting to get that shot, you're able to really take advantage of that and set up your rest of your list for taking the shots into that list. It's definitely takes a lot of practice to get this right, because you do want to make sure, particularly for those Whispers, that you get the bullseye as much as you can, and you can kind of mitigate that by using the Snaggletooth formation to line up the bullseyes a little easier, just having that odd angle. But yeah, it's definitely a very strong list, or archetype, I should say.
All right, with this list, what obstacles are you bringing? Does it really matter? Because most of the ships in here are AC. If you bring Blackout, you do technically want bigger.
I would say
rocks?
gas clouds.
Gas clouds.
Yeah, gas clouds. So you can still have some of the larger gas clouds, which are almost as big as the Pride of Mandalore rocks, especially like that bacon, which is a really long piece. Provides a very long surface to fully fit a small base along the longer side of it, and allow Blackout to use his ability fairly easy. If you're bringing just Blackout in the chassis by himself, meaning you don't have like Rush, or you don't have Silencer Kylo in the list, you can put vector cannons, or sorry, not vector cannons, sensitive controls on Blackout. That helps him get into the obstacle and then barrel out if he needs to for the following turn. That is certainly a play style. You can try doing that for you. On the opposite side of it, if you're in a jam and you're going to have multiple locks on you from like a Alpha Strike list, go right through those, go right through the gas clouds, break all those locks. Sure, you'll be strained and possibly ionized, but your opponents are not going to have that all important target lock on your ship, and you're likely to roll out of it anyway, and hopefully survive, and not having to worry about losing that precious resource of health for your ship. So I would definitely bring gas clouds for this list archetype.
All right, objectives. I think the 4 or 5 ship list struggles in assault per se, because you want to be cagier. You're probably only taking 1 or 2 points in assault. A churn, probably just 1. You are good at contesting the points though, because you are not linked to each other. None of you have to be by each other ever. Like, it just never has to happen. And then crates, I think that's got to be the worst scenario. I don't know, guys. You think that's probably the worst scenario for that list?
Yeah, I think so.
Because no one wants to pick up a crate.
Yeah, no.
And then chance is fine. I think chance is okay because you're only giving up 2 points for half points. So the most you give up if you half point each of the ships is 8, which is pretty low. And if you can use the deuterium, it's pretty good in that list. What's the other scenario? Oh, scramble. I think you do okay in scramble, but the problem is you only have one ship that gets a mod. So really you're only scrambling with one ship unless nobody's looking at you. Or you have mods from your other turn. So there's no coordinator at all in this list at all.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're playing KG where you're only like trying to at minimum be in one single arc at a time. A lot of times, especially if you still have shields left, you can definitely sacrifice your action to scramble a charge, or like if you're in a silencer, for instance, you can scramble and then boost or barrel roll out of arc or into a better position. And still relying your natural agility to hopefully mitigate some of the damage that might be coming in there. So you definitely have some options there for scramble. Salvage, not so much. It just really neuters the flexibility of the list there. So they don't want to really touch a crate unless they absolutely need to. However, they will absolutely hunt down and shoot down your crate carrier at all costs. And with Malice on Kylo, he's gonna have a way to do it all the time.
All right. Any other thoughts on this list, on this style of list before we wrap this segment?
Be confident with your flying, because that is tough to do. That's about it. Good luck.
Yeah.
Have fun with FO.
Yeah, not your preferred choice, Alex.
I mean, if I was gonna do FO list, I'd probably just fly Cody's list because I love silencers. So, but yeah, I mean, FO's good. It's just a lot of people, unless you're in England, don't play them too much, so you don't get a lot of variety in terms of list building.
Yeah.
With that being said, that concludes our Academy 101 analysis of First Order.